Okay, so I'll try to explain this thing with the three arpeggios that you can play over a dominant scale. Right, the dominant scale I'm going to show you. I'm not going to show you what he shows you in books. It's a bit hard to see. The dominant scale I'm going to show you here is this one, which is from G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right, it's a Mixolydian scale in the key of C, right? But he calls that a dominant scale, so that would be G dominant scale. Okay, it's got this flattened F. Instead of F sharp in the major scale, it's got that flattened F, right? Now what I'm going to do is, I want to show you the best chords to use over this D minor 7 G7 or whatever, or D minor G7 in standard notations, that is on a major scale, and then we'll have a look what those chords relate to here, so you can see what the arpeggios are like. So if you look at a C major scale, so which is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, and that's F because it's the seventh chord, A, C, E, right, B, D, F. If you look over D minor 7 G7, you don't really want to be playing that kind of arpeggio because all those tones are stable tones. Can you remember from what I said about how to play a bebop, where I was telling you what were stable tones, what were active tones, what were tendency tones? Well, if you're playing D minor G7, you want sounds that are moving onwards. You don't want stable tones, so that is a chord you don't want. And here we've got another one, right, which is chord 3, which has got E and G. They're stable tones, right? Only tone that's moving is that B tendency tone. You've got two tones that are stable, so that's not so good. But you could play it, you know what I mean? It's not saying you shouldn't, and we're just looking now what's the best chords to play. In the sixth one, look, this one here, we've got C and E, which are also stable tones. The only active tones, they say. So the best ones are this one. If you look at this one, that is active, that's a tendency, and that is active. So that's a good one. So obviously 2, which is obviously goes with that. So 2 arpeggio would be good on that, right? So what else of these? What other active chords we got? Well, here we've got 2, haven't we? There's 2 active chords in that, and that's chord 4. Right, F major. Obviously, chord 5, G, B, D, F. Apart from the G, B, D, and F are all active, so chord 5 is good, which is obviously 5 there. Chord 6, you've got 2 stable, so you've only got 1 active tones there, which is that one. So that I would say that's out. So that's out. That's out. What about this 7 diminished? Well, that's active, that's active, that's active. So that one would be a good one as well. 7. Right, so you've got 1, 2, 3, you've got 4 chords that'd be quite good on there. Right, these 2 chords are giving dominant sound, the 5 and the 7, because you've got this B to F, right, which is a tritone. You see, that diminished is just basically the top end of this 7th chord, isn't it? So just think about that. We've got chord 2, chord 4, and chord 5, which is quite good. And chord 7 would be okay as well. But chord 7 is just the top end of that. So you can ignore chord 7 because you're just repeating that. You know what I mean? It's just the top end. So 2, 4, and 5 are what's quite good. So I'll just write this down here. So in major scale, 2, 4, 5, right? They're very good to play on those. Arpeggios are very good to play on those chords because they've got plenty of active tones, so they keep the music moving, don't they? So let's have a look at this, what he says. Now he's talking, everything he's saying is in about this scale, and he says in this scale, which is G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? He's saying the best chords on this scale are chord 1, which is chord 5 on major scale, so G, B, D, F. It's a G7, right? That's the 7th chord, so that's chord 1, right? He says chord 5, which is this D minor, which will be chord 2, which we've already looked at, you see. So chord 5, he's saying that's okay, which we've already said is okay. And then he says chord 7, which is this F, right? It's actually flat 7, isn't it? We'd call it flat 7. or the 7th degree. So that would be F, A, C. So you've got 2 notes there, so that's chord 5, 6, 7. So we've already seen that the reason why these are good arpeggios to play is because there's lots of active notes or tendency tones, right? So that's why I agree with him on that. Now, he says, let me just carry on a sec. He says that on D minor 7, G7, right? This is what I don't understand. He's saying it's kind of like, he says it's a 4-3 suspension, right? So he's saying, he's going like, if you got this, sorry. If you got, yeah, I'll do it in this so you can see it better. If you've got D, F, A, C, right, he's actually talking A minor, but this is the same thing. So F, G. So he's saying that G going to that B is a 4-3 suspension. So this G, right, the G in this scale, which is the 4th note, is going to this 3rd note in the G7 chord, and he calls that a 4-3 extension, or 4-3 suspension, sorry. 4-3 suspension, which seems very strange to me, because what a suspension is usually is, if you've got something like, I don't know, G7 going to C, right, and you're playing an F there, an F's in there, but if it's suspended over into that, it becomes a dissonance against that C, because F's not very nice against C, is it? And then what happens is, you've got the dissonance, and the dissonance moves down and resolves, usually by a half step or something. It's called suspension if it moves down. It's called a retardation, I think, if it goes up, you know. You don't see him going up, you see him going down. But so I don't really understand this thing. Is he talking about a 4-3 suspension? He's saying this G, the 4th of this D minor, is moving to this 3rd, and he actually plays it on the piano. So that's what he's saying. I just don't understand it. Why is that a suspension when suspension is usually that kind of stuff? So he obviously knows something I don't know. So that's basically that. So what he's saying is, I hope you're following this, because you know I'm finding this difficult to do, and I'm explaining it to you. What he's saying is, on a Mixolydian scale, or what he calls a dominant scale, which is G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? The arpeggios you can play are on the tonics, which is G, B, D, F. This is over D minor, G7, right? You've got those 2 chords, you can play that kind of arpeggio. You can play the one on the 5th, which would be D, F, A, C, and the one on the 7th, which would be F, A, C, E. And I've just showed you that they contain more active tones, so they're quite good. He's right, it's quite good for that to happen. But the thing is, he doesn't explain why it's good. He just says play that, and I've explained to you why it's good. It's good because there's lots of active tones, and active tones want to move on, they want to resolve. So they're all trying to get there to that C in the 2-5-1 sequence, you know, to resolve. So it's not really well thought, you know, it's not very well explained by this Howard Rees in the book. He doesn't explain that at all. I've just explained it. He just says it's these 3 chords, but you know, I've had to work that out to see why those 3 chords are the best chords, and why you're not using the 7th, because the 7th is just the top end of this, you see. Sorry, that one. If you use the B, which is the 3rd on this one, which is diminished, it's just sorry, 2F, which is the 5th. Sorry, the B, it's not that one. I'm going back. See how confusing this is? I've gone to that because I've started thinking in major scales again. So I'm thinking a 5th, but what we're talking about is a dominant scale. So I've got to go to 1. Now this will be 5 in a C major scale, you see, but now I've got to think of it as 1. So the one that goes with this 1 is this one here. Oh God, it should be. Let me think. It should be 7, which is. It should be B. This one, which is G B. Sorry, that's B. So B, D, F. You see, but that is just the top end of that. So we don't. So that's why he hasn't mentioned that one, because it's all represented by the tonic chord. But you could play that, the 7th, if you wanted. It would work. So I hope you're following this. I tell you, it's confusing me because I like to think in normal, how everybody writes. You know what I mean? In mixed leading scales, not these dominant scales that he's talking about. But anyway, that's the explanation why, and that's quite true. They're the notes you they're the arpeggios within those chords that you want to play, and Charlie Parker does do that. But Charlie Parker, I mean, I could show you the book and show you that Charlie Parker does that, but Charlie Parker plays a lot more arpeggios than that, and the reason is because of the voice leading. So when Barry Harris is saying that Charlie Parker plays this G7 over this chord, well, if you're playing it like, let me have a look. If you've got something like, let me see. Just write that down. So if you've got something like this, let me think. D minor going to G7, and you play the G7 arpeggio, it actually works okay, because this B, which would normally clash with this D minor and creates a tritone, because it's got a tritone with that F there, you see, it don't really matter because it's off the beat, you know what I mean? So you could actually play it, you know what I mean? It'd be much better if you actually played, through the changes, either the D minor, which would be on this chord, which would be, D, F, A, C, or F, A, C, E, or the sub, because they're both subdominant arpeggios, so they're better, you know what I mean? But you can certainly play the, yeah, so if you're looking at this G7, if you play this G7, right, so if you play this G7 arpeggio over D minor, it's okay because that B's off the beat. And if you play the D minor arpeggio on G7, that seems to work alright, isn't it? We've got that D and that A, which is a 9, so that seems to be okay. And the F, which is F, A, C, E, which is the same thing. You've got this F and C. So you've got that A, here you've got the C, so you've got this F and this D, so they're within that, so I suppose it'd work alright. It'd be better off if you played proper dominant sound though. You played lots of D's to F's. That'd be better than them actually. But it's possible. Now, he says that Charlie Parker is not playing through really playing through changes. It's impossible to do that. But if you look at Charlie Parker's solos, if I just get your solo and I'll have a quick look, I think one of the best for Parker playing through changes is Blues for Alice, if I can find it. On Blues for Alice, there's a part where Parker's actually playing, he's shifting the beat, but he is playing through changes. Yeah, if you look at this and shift them bars over there, a couple of beats, so that C is with that A minor, so that E7, then that E will go there with that E, which means 2 beats away you would get this F sharp on B minor. So F sharp goes on E minor. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll write that out again and show you. Yeah, this bit here from the Charlie Parker Omni book, what I've done is I've shifted that beat 2 beats that way. Just have a look. What we're doing is we're looking to see if Charlie Parker's actually playing through changes, and it looks like he is. You can see that this A is going with that D and he's playing up that arpeggio. So he's probably playing, I mean that's an A, but it seems to go okay with this D. He's hitting a D there, look. And then he's hitting C sharp here, bang on that C sharp diminished. And then this F sharp 7 is, well, he's playing there, look, an A sharp, which goes well with that F sharp 7 on the beat. Here he's playing G minor, he's hitting this F sharp, going to D, which is part of D minor. And then here on this E7, he's hitting E straight on beat. And then up to this C as a suspension off the beat. And then it's kind of like resolving his C sharp, well, it's not really suspension, that's a tension in it. and then it's resolving here on this A minor. Actually, how can it resolve if it's C sharp? It's playing sharp, isn't it, there? Let me have a quick look. Sorry, I've written that down wrong. That should be a natural. So he's playing a suspension here. So he's playing a suspension there, looks, against that E7, and then it's resolving down the A minor. So basically, just looking at that little bit out of Blues Fallacy, it looks to me like Charlie Parker does play through the changes and on the chords, if you know what I mean. The thing is, if you look at Charlie Parker's solos, which we will be doing in How to Play Bebop, Charlie Parker uses really nice voice leading lines, and those voice leading lines sound like he's going through the changes. So when he uses these arpeggios that Barry Harris talks about, he uses them in selective ways to outline the changes. He's not just playing them willy-nilly, as Barry Harris says, oh, you can't do that, it's impossible. But it does seem that Parker does do it possibly. Also, I can actually tell you what the main arpeggio that Parker uses over this 2/5 sequence. If you just give me a second. Right, the main arpeggio that Charlie Parker seems to play more than anything else is a short one. It's part of M1, which is a rising arpeggio, and in the key of C major, right, it would be right D F A. That's the one he plays more than anything else. This one. So, looking at that from Barry Harris's point of view, so if we look at the G dominant bebop scale, remember this is in the key of C, so that's 2, isn't it? So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Does it work out as one of Barry Harris's? So let's have a look. D, yes, it's the dominant, which Barry Harris says is one of the main. That's the tonic. It's one of the main things. So it's kind of the 2 chord, isn't it? So that's the main one. So out of those chords that I was showing you with Barry Harris, the 3 chords which are on 1, 5, and 7, the one that Charlie Parker plays more than else is this one on the D, and he used it in M1 to get the voice leading back up. Okay. So I thought I'd just tell you that. But he uses different ones, Parker. He doesn't just use that. He uses quite a few. But on average, I would say Barry Harris is correct in using these arpeggios. But what I would say is don't see it as an absolute rule. Because what Charlie Parker does is he'll use fingering and stuff to get round things, you know what I mean? You don't want to be stuck by rules. But the basic rules kind of work, yeah. I mean... Yeah, I agree with Barry Harris. Yeah, that's what you see, and I've had a look in the Charlie Parker book, and that's what you kind of see, that kind of stuff. In fact, there's a very good example actually. Just let me see if I can find it for you. Of those chords being used, I think it's on A La Cha. Yeah, just here. Look, can you see that? If you look on A La Cha, just here, that's a lead-in. But there, look, this A La Cha's in the key of D, I think, isn't it? Yeah, D. So on dominant scale, let me write it down. We're going to have to space here. So this is in the key of D, so D, F, A. So we're talking A anyway. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. C sharp, F sharp. Right, that's the scale, and he's saying the 3 main chords are that one, and that one. Okay? So if you look there, look, that's a half tone leading to that A, so you've got the 1 chord, right? And then this one here is G, so you've got the 7th chord, right? This one, 5, 6, 7, and then this next one here goes into F sharp, which is the 6 actually. You've got the 6. Parker plays the 6 there, and then on this one, this is all over E minor, and then there, look, you've got D sharp leading to E, which is the 5th. So out of those 4 chords, Barry Harris says that the best 3, 3 of those are the best 3, you see. Parker plays at F sharp mainly because he's descending. You see, voice leading's going down, G sharp, F, D sharp. We kind of getting like voice leading going down. Although voice leading seems to come from top. D, E, D, C sharp, B, I suppose. Anyway, it looks almost true, doesn't it, what Barry Harris says, so I'm certainly agreeing with him. They're the best chords because of the active tones, you know, they keep the music moving. So that's the first bit of Barry Harris. I hope you've understood it, because it's pretty, as you can see, it's pretty tricky to try and explain what's happening. So I'm going to leave this video and let you look in the book and let you see if that's what you see. If you see those 3 chords that he says, those 3 arpeggios on the dominant scale over 2/5 sequence. Okay, in the key. So leave it to it, and I'll see you in the next video.